Hi, welcome to the Philly Suburbs with Sharon. I am Sharon Loudenbach. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a resident in White Marsh Township, and I'm a real estate agent with Compass Real Estate in the Philadelphia suburbs. Um, the reason I started this podcast was I have lived in the Philly suburbs my entire life, all 50 some years of it. And especially the last 10 years of selling real estate in the area, I've realized how amazing people and businesses are that are either located or affiliated with the Philadelphia suburbs. So I decided to bring a podcast to my listeners and hear about my friends and their businesses in the region. Today, I'm going to talk, my tidbit of realtor wisdom is about the current spring real estate market and the upcoming summer changeover of a lot of different, families and homes. I wanted to scream out again to make people realize that this is the time of year, like May and early June is the time of year that so many families, which are a lot of the people that are looking to move into your home. A lot of families are in the time they really want to make that purchase. They want to make the purchase, they want to settle in 45 to 60 days, and they want to be all set for a move in the summer when the kids are out of school and out of that really crazy routine that makes all of us parents like, I don't have a moment to think about packing. That's the time that a lot of people prefer to move. And then the kids are ready in the school district for an August or September start. So if you have any questions about that, or you want to talk to me about what the details are of getting your home packed and ready and listed on for sale, please reach out to me. Hello, Sandy Weston. Today we are talking to Sandy Joy Weston. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, my
This is
friend.
fun.
I know. So Sandy is the founder of SJW Production. Its main mission is to promote mental and physical well-being through keynote speaking, teaching workshops, hosting podcasts, writing books and journals, and personal group coaching. You ready to get started?
I am.
Okay.
I'm ready,
So
man.
you're going to find out, you guys, along the way, how that Sandy and I actually go back, like freaky. I keep re-meeting people in my life. So that's how I refound Sandy Weston in my life. So Sandy, you are the perfect person to interview on my podcast. My podcast is about the Philly suburbs, right? So you've lived and worked on businesses, everything that I talk about on my
Mm.
podcast, you have done in Philadelphia suburban region. Tell us a little bit about your past and what brought you to become a speaker and coach.
What brought me is people like you, because you were a member of my first gym.
Mhm.
Think about it. I think that
So
was
that's
like
the secret.
1993, right?
It was around 1993. My husband and we used to, I lived around the corner with my parents from your gym in Bala and, knew of Sandy Weston because it was called Weston Fitness. And then when you and I met about 2 years ago or whatever, I was
Yeah.
like, wait, you're Sandy Weston. Are you the Sandy Weston? And I remember your face was like, what do you mean? So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I did my undergraduate work at Montclair College in Montclair, New Jersey, and then transferred into Westchester and finished up there
Oh,
because the dance department was in the health and phys ed department at
okay.
Westchester. At Montclair, I was just a dancer thinking I was going to make it on Broadway. That wasn't that, I don't want to say it wasn't that good, but I couldn't do a lot of things at the time the other girls could do. So I
Right.
took a year off and had to regroup. And I loved the fact that I could study the mind and body and still dance at Westchester. And my internship they had me do at a place in Ballacquinwood, I think it was called Sweeney and Steinberg Body Works.
Okay.
And I taught a dance fitness class, like aerobics back then, which was just brand new in the 80s.
Okay.
And through that, it led me to Riverside
Oh,
Health Club that was in
good.
Ballacquinwood,
Down the street.
teach
Hmm.
classes there, and then manage their fitness department and
Okay.
run their pro shop and do corporate sales.
Hmm.
And from that, thank you. I got clients because they would take my classes and they'd say, oh, will you go train me in my home? I'm like, sure. And back then there weren't really private trainers. So I cornered the market from the who's who. Like I had
Yeah.
everybody and anybody. And
Everyone went to Riverside. I mean, it
yeah.
was, yeah.
So I just started training people. And, you know, they took me under their wing and they mentored me. A lot of these people, at the time it was mostly men. And somebody got wind that I was going to open a health club. Now, I wasn't going to open a health club. I mean, it wasn't even on my mind. I was, teaching my classes, doing my thing. But what happened is one of my clients slash mentors said, you should open a health club. I'm like, well, it spread like wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the old owners, they didn't really ask me. They just brought me in and fired me after 10 years. I don't know if you knew that. They're
No.
like, I go, but even if someday I did open a health club, I'm the most loyal person you would know. I would open it up way not close to Riverside. But naughty,
But
naughty.
since
Now
they did what they did.
they fired me. I said, well, now I am opening up a health club. I was so mad.
Ah,
And it was okay because it was the best thing they ever did for me. It took me 3 years because it was hard to get a lease. I mean, for a young girl in her 20s who's going to
yeah.
take the risk. But finally, I'm sure you know Ed Snyder.
Mhm.
He said to me, Sandy, use most of your money. But him and this other guy, Peter Weatherall, said, we'll give you some, which ended up being like 24% of what I needed. But because we're backing you, it'll be a lot easier for you to get a lease
Right.
because our names are there.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to own a health club, but I just want to give you a start. So that was where you met me.
Yeah.
And again, I was a dance major. I didn't take any business courses. I'm thinking, oh, I'll teach dance classes and I'll be very happy. But I don't turn down any opportunities. And I met the right people. The best thing you could possibly do is be an in-home trainer because you get to know these people so well in their homes.
Yeah.
And once I opened my first club, then somebody else saw me and said, hey, I'd like to open a health club with you and call it Weston Fitness. So then I opened another one in Jenkintown. And then I opened another one in Center City. But again, Sharon, it wasn't like I had this goal. I didn't think of myself as a business person,
Mm.
but I
Really?
always jumped at the opportunity. I
Knew a
always,
lot of the
yeah,
you knew what you knew a lot of the right people because I remember the type of people that were at the gym when I was at the gym.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
because they
news
were my
reporters.
clients.
It was the news reporters. They all, all the stations were right there. It was all the
Yeah,
people like the who's who of Philly.
correct.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So then walk me through closer to today and when this transitioned out of the health club world to your
Yeah.
private coaching business.
So the Battle Kimbo Club that you were at, I sold to the physical therapy company in there 10 years after I'd been open because we could see that all these other bigger clubs were coming in and I couldn't compete and you couldn't grow. Like the most we could make it was 15,000 square feet. So they bought it.
Yeah.
The place in Jenkintown, we got a great offer. So after, I think it was 3 years, we sold that. But then I had a place in Center City at 19th and Market
Okay.
and I had a 20-year lease. But
Ugh.
after 17 and a half years, a new landlord came in and was like, wait a minute, you'll appreciate this. You have 27,000 square feet at $7.50 when everybody else is paying 30 some dollars a square foot.
We'll let you out if you'd like to get out of your lease, is what they
And
say.
I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to go anywhere. I'll see through my 20-year lease. And they were like, yeah, but we have somebody that wants to go in below you. The bank went out, a new bank wanted to go in. And the new bank didn't, like that we were pounding on the floor, like dropping weights. We were on the second floor,
Oh,
but they couldn't do anything about it because that's what we were,
right.
But finally, what they did is they said, we'll buy you out. And I'm like, okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And that was 2019, right before COVID.
Right.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? I mean, it was a
Well, the
godsend.
business was going to shut down like everybody else's,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, there's no way. I
Yeah.
mean, we did have and then we had corporate wellness centers. They weren't going to make it. So it was a blessing in disguise, even
Right.
though I went kicking and screaming. I didn't want to sell it, but I always had my side gig. So on the side, I wasn't really doing clients that much anymore. I hadn't done them in like 30 some years,
Right.
but I was doing speaking engagements and workshops, and I had written books and journals. And then a few people, I only have a handful of clients, asked me if I would coach them online, but mostly for the mental component.
Okay. Right.
So,
No longer the
being
physical therapy.
and not that I don't, because if people are getting injured, I will design programs for them. I'm like, oh my
Okay.
God, you should be doing that. Because sometimes the exercises or the classes just aren't right for them, especially as they age and they keep getting re-injured and re-injured.
Right.
So I know enough to go, okay, I'll come in and set up your programs. But because of COVID, they started with me for the mental fitness component, which made sense because everyone would say to me, why do your clients always get results? And I realized it
Mm.
was because of the mental component of it. I was like really
I
saying,
love
if
that.
you want to come with me, I'm diving deep. I'm not just going to get your weight off and then, you move on. That's not what I'm about. So it was really just taking my side gig I had already had
Right.
and made it my main bit. And I was doing podcasting, let's keep it real, back then. So it's been like 17 years for that podcast.
That I can't believe. I mean, you all know, anybody who's watching this knows I think I only have 20 podcasts so far. I've been podcasting, let's say 5 months or something like that. Like what were you even podcasting 17? There weren't even platforms.
I was like a radio show. So it was a radio show that I
Right.
created. And it was because I wanted to meet people around the world that were making a positive difference in, at the time, in the well-being arena,
Right.
and people I would never get to. And I wanted to get
Yeah.
cutting edge things that no one had heard of. And I thought, well, how am I going to get these people? Oh, I'll have a radio show. And then it changed. I forgot, I think it was What Keeps You Up at Night. And then it changed to Let's Keep It Real. And then the show
Mm.
you were on, I started in 2019, was a show that's recorded but live for women around the world. And that's called Hey, I Got Something to Say.
Oh,
And that
right.
was because I was hearing from women, especially I had so many friends I had met during COVID that were in Dubai, that said,
Oh.
we don't feel heard after a certain age. We don't feel like people are listening to what we have to say. And as they were getting older, they really didn't feel like they were relevant. And that's what started the show. It was more international. Then I'm like, wait a minute, I got my peeps in the United States. So I mix it in. That's how it is.
Do you really run 3 podcasts?
No,
Is that
two, two.
you run two?
Let's
Okay.
keep it real for men and women, which is more of a 45-minute to an hour podcast, and then
Right.
a live one that gets recorded just for women.
Right. And that's live. That's a Facebook Live platform.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back up 1 second. You just said something that I'm so interested in. What keeps you up at night? Oh my God. You need can I start that podcast again? Because like it's like endless. I'm
Yeah.
speechless.
Yeah.
What did you do? You like literally interviewed people and was like, what keeps you up at night?
Well, it was more about things that perplex you, like like what keeps you up at night? What do you wake up thinking? It wasn't from I can't sleep because I wake up and I go to the bathroom and I worry. It
Right.
was
Not right.
more what wakes you up at night and you go, oh my God, how is this? Why is this? And then it expanded more than just, well-being, like how to start a business, how to raise kids. Like, what do you wake up and go, oh God, this is what I want to know. And I had people write into me about all these different topics. Oh, that
Okay.
is a third podcast of what
Right.
they wanted to know, what wakes them up at night. And then I
Huh.
would find people out there that would answer their questions.
That's just unreal. So expand a little bit about your personal coaching and your journaling, like that, the book and the journaling. You and I did a one-on-one with each other once.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
were sweet. You came over and like we dug kind of deep.
Hmm.
Um, explain where that came from and where you normally go with that, or where do your clients go with that?
Okay, good question. So I created the books and journals a while ago because I wanted some tool for people that didn't have a daily routine to get into a positive, powerful mindset
Mhm.
that would take only a few minutes a day. So they had no excuses.
Right.
So I researched for years, and I know it sounds crazy because it's a freaking, 1 minute thing that you can do or a 3 minute thing. But I spent years studying people,
Mm.
Sharon, that I felt exuded pure joy. I wanted to know what made them tick. What did they do? And I would bribe them with memberships. That was back at the gym you were at. And I would take people and say, I just want to spend a couple hours with you answering questions, finding what works for you, and then I'll give you some training or a free membership. And I did that for about a year. And what I
Wow.
realized is that I didn't see anything. Then finally, at the end of the year, I realized the thing they all had in common is that every single one of them did something to get in that headset before they started the day.
First thing in the morning.
First thing. And it was
Right.
all different. It was everything from baking muffins to walking the dog to it wasn't the same thing. And it was everything from a few minutes to a few hours. So I was like, okay,
Okay.
well, there's a lot of people out there that don't have something consistently that they do every day. Even successful people, like life could bang them around. They wait to see what's going to happen.
Right.
So then I went back out, and for the next few years, I met with, I call them the powers that be, but people that I felt could help me design something to get people in this mindset. So I met with neuroscientists, exercise physiologists, sports psychologists, gurus to craft something that would take a few minutes a day. And we crafted something that took 5 minutes a day.
Okay.
And it failed. It failed big time. Nobody did it.
Too long.
Too long. And so, and remember, there are people out there that have amazing routines, but I wanted to get people that do diddly squat. And so 1 to 3 minutes they were willing to do. So
Okay.
that's where the journals and books. And the recent one I wrote is for kids that are 8 to 12, but all the adults use it because they like it. But it's anything to help you get in that positive, powerful mindset, to remind yourself every day if you don't have your own little routine. As far as the coaching, it's a little different from me. I do now more, Sharon, since we spoke, workshops. So I've designed 6 week and 3 month workshops that I teach at either high school or colleges
Yeah.
or corporations. Especially for corporations, it's more if they're trying to change the atmosphere of the office, if it's too filled with anxiety or fear, or people are feeling overwhelmed, or they're coming into the office, not excited to be there, they'll bring me in to help with the behind the scenes. I'll go into high schools to work with entrepreneurship and the mindset of an entrepreneurship. Or just recently, I went in to work with high school boys that were court appointed, and that was challenging. And I did a mental fitness program with
You
them.
told me about that one
Yeah.
and how
And
much
I've
you
learned
got out of
so
that one.
much for them. Yeah.
Yeah. How much you
Now,
got out of that. Mm-hmm.
in addition, I do a handful of clients that really want to dive deep. So if they come to me and they're like, listen, I just want this, I'm like, yeah, I'm not your person. But I can tell when they're seriously ready. And then I'll do a 6 week program with them to jumpstart them to where they want to go. And sometimes it has to do with the body, but most times it has to do with the relationship with their significant other or their children, or where they're taking their career, because it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
When you're working on you and changing the patterns that you have, it's going to help in every single area of your life.
So do you have some like great reviews written somewhere that are sort of little love notes back to you, like your feedback
Yeah.
of like
Yeah. Uh,
how what you offered them to be able to change their life successfully?
I'm really fortunate. I feel very blessed. And some of them are on my website.
Okay.
Some of them aren't, because half of them don't want to be known.
Yeah.
They don't want people to know. And especially uh, a lot of my male clients,
Right.
they don't, because, they don't want to let anyone know who they're using or why they're using it. I mean, it's changing somewhat, and I shouldn't generalize. It just so happens people think, oh, you draw in so many females,
Oh,
but half of them are males. I work with a lot of males.
men are still, I do see an improve, like a change in men recognizing that mental health is not a hush hush word.
Yep, yep.
It's really starting to change because I've given birth to two of those men in the world, and I live and married to the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, I think over time it is definitely becoming more, not
Yeah.
not something to be embarrassed about,
Yeah. And
which,
if you say coach, it's actually better. Like my
right.
coach, my mental and physical. I'll go, just tell them I'm your mental and physical well-being coach.
Oh,
And
don't
then,
use world well-being for men.
ah, fitness,
It just
strength
coach,
conditioning.
just
Yeah.
mental and health coach.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well-being. Good. Good.
Keep
Got
it,
to mark that down,
keep it
Sharon.
simple, stupid. I definitely work on that. Definitely. I'm a keep it simple type of keep it simple, stupid person. So,
Me too.
um, I was going to say, how do you find your clients? But I'm sure that's a very broad question. I will say instead that you and I were reintroduced through a lot of networking, business networking
Hmm.
we do. Um, and I guess I would just say, can you share with the listeners what you feel that, because I guess I'm a big promoter of the business networking and charity work that I do. So I
Hmm.
always sort of like to present that here on the podcast. Maybe somebody else will pick it up and want to find a way to do good. But how does it play into your business, all the networking that you do?
I'm so glad you asked that because it's new to me in the last few years. Well, now that we can go out and about
Yeah,
after COVID, I never networked while I had the health clubs because I didn't need to. I mean, you have your
correct.
built-in audience. But then in the last few years, I saw a need for it. Well, forget business. I am an extreme extrovert, like extreme. I need humans. I need to see humans and I love humans. So for me, even going and finding out about something else or what, like running into you or somebody else does, that makes my day. Like I love knowing what they did, which is why I host podcasts because I love highlighting people.
Right.
In addition to that, a lot of the gigs I've gotten, the big gigs I've gotten, have been from my networking.
Is that
Because,
right?
well, for me, Sharon, well, you know this. When I really truly think I'm going because I like the kind of people I'm going to meet, and that's very important to me. So I probably don't do as much networking as other people, but I'm very selective and I love the people. But when I think, how can I serve them? It always comes back to me down the road.
Yeah.
I'm like, whenever I do that, it always comes back to me.
I don't know why I'm such a proponent of it. I will say in my previous business as a brick and mortar retailer, I remember I was approached by networking groups a long time ago, and I lived in that very narrow world. Like the
Yep.
world was only straight, like we waited for the door to open from the customers. They knew our business hours, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Um, But now that I've actually been networking for 10 years since like month two
Ah,
of me being in real estate, I've been networking. It is a huge change in my life.
yeah.
And it's now gotten me to the next level, which is marrying networking and charity together. Um, and what the additional extra that brings to me. But we have a
Absolutely.
great, amazing group of networking, at least females, I'm going to say, in the Philadelphia
Absolutely.
suburban region that are powerhouses. I mean, there's all different types of networking groups, and some of them are more, more geared to either a health and wellness or a beauty or whatever. I'm in sort of a cross generational,
Mm.
not generational, just a cross of just really business owners of all
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
kinds.
Me too.
And it's just such a group of strong women. There's so much to learn. There's so much to feel. There's
Mhm.
so much to give back. So
Absolutely.
I'm so glad to have re-met you through that.
Yeah. See, and every time I go, I'm like, oh my God, where have you been? How are you? I
It
love
is.
it.
It's funny. It's really funny. So let's talk about the biggest thing that's happened in your life. I don't even know exactly when it started and when you put your application in, but let's go. Let's break it open. You are now officially a TEDx talker. We haven't seen it yet because they're holding the goods. It's in under lock and key, but go for it. Tell us, I mean, you only have 5 minutes, but tell us how it unfolded.
That's plenty of time.
Okay, go.
So I've been speaking for years. And like I said, even at the health clubs, because the news stations were right across the street, They would
Yeah.
come to do segments at the gym. And then I was NBC 10's fitness expert for like
Yeah.
10 years. Well, that opened doors for me to do a lot of speaking gigs or
Okay.
warm-up races or whatever. So I had always been doing them and very, very fortunate to travel around all over the world. What happened over COVID, I was like, there goes that. Now what? That was the biggest part of my side gig. So I took a course in heroic public speaking. That was a year course. Uh, it's located in Lambertville, New Jersey, where they bring in about 50 people from around the world to take their keynotes to the next level. And I decided, hey, I'm going to make this big investment. Half is online and half you're there. And it was probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I didn't know what I didn't know because I never had been trained in speaking. I just did what I did, but it really upped my game. And I said,
A course in heroic public speaking.
yep, heroic public speaking.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. So, and they are, Amy and Michael Port are incredible. And I'm telling you, every year there's like new 40 to 50 people coming and from all and every background of life. And Susan Sandler, a friend of mine, is the one that recommended.
I know
It's
Susan, by the
expensive.
way.
Yeah,
I know
it's
Susan.
expensive. And it was about 20 hours a week out of my life. So you can't be doing a full-time job. And like for me, not everyone, but I spent 20 hours a week on writing it and making sure I could perform it. Well, at the end, I had an amazing keynote because my goal is to do one a month on the big stages, being paid a lot of money
Yeah.
and inspiring a lot of people. I wasn't thinking TEDx, but then someone's like, Sandy, this would be a great TEDx too. So then I started working on that. And really, the way I got a TEDx, I applied to a few of them and I got rejected from everyone. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to wait on this. I connected with somebody on LinkedIn about being on my Hey, I Got Something to Say show.
Mm-hmm.
Arena, awesome. And so I'm interviewing her for the show and she's asking me a ton of questions. And I'm like, Arena, no one's ever asked me these many questions to be on my Hey, I Got Something to Say show. And she says, oh, I thought you were interviewing to be in my TEDx in Apex, North Carolina. And I said, yeah, let's go with that. She's like, well, I go, no, 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 no. Yes, 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 yes. So
Oh, I must have misspoke that last sentence, right?
and so she was a curator and she was having, I didn't know I knew she did TEDx's, but I thought she just did one and was done. But she was now going to be doing her sixth or seventh one and she was interviewing me for it. Now, it wasn't a definite, but then a year later, I applied officially and I got in. So it was the weirdest. You never know how the
Right.
doors are going to open.
Right. And always be prepped.
Yeah. She started asking me and I just went for it. And so that, was just 3 weeks ago. And so it takes like a month or two before it comes out because they edit it, they review it, they make sure,
Well, I
everything's
just
cool.
cannot wait to see it because your energy, I just can't imagine what it's going to be like on film. I mean, if you ever today you're actually dressed kind of subdued. I mean, normally Sandy is like orange, yellow, pink, bright, everything. Well, you can see the little duckies or whatever behind her in the screen. Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
Big Bird. Are you a Big Bird fan or something? Is that what's sitting behind you, Big Bird?
Big Bird is my animal guide. I am not a Big Bird fan. It's a long story and we don't have time for it, but
All right, we don't have
basically
time.
I got a massage and they said my animal guide was Big Bird.
Oh, I hear you. Okay, sorry, squirrel. That was like, Mom, you just went like all the way over there. Okay, come back. So when, I mean, I'm assuming your TED Talk was about mental and physical wellness,
Yep.
all that. Okay. So we think that was 3 weeks. We think within the next 3 weeks, we'll be
Yeah.
able to share it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm
watch it.
excited. Yeah.
I'm
And
really,
one of my friends is going to have a viewing party. And she's like, tell everybody whoever wants to come. I'm like, okay, but we don't have a date because I don't know when it's coming out.
no,
So,
you'll do it.
yeah.
You'll just jump into it. So what's your next thing?
My next thing is I'm very, very, very passionate in that I want to be on one stage a month somewhere in the world,
Yeah.
somewhere in the world,
Okay.
wherever it is, local, far, That's what I'm going to do.
You say it, you write it, it's going to happen,
Yeah.
and you
One a
work it.
month.
Okay.
One a month.
Well, it is time to turn the table. I think you knew that you were going to be asked to ask me a question, right?
Yep.
So at the end of all my podcasts, my guests get to ask me a question. Fire away.
So the last home you sold,
Uh-huh.
what is the feeling you have knowing that you put this couple, family, whatever, in the home of their dreams?
Mhm.
I want to know from beginning to end what goes on.
So the very last one was actually a listing. And so let me go to my last buyer. Let me just backtrack again. So you want my last buyer. So
Yeah.
it's really my a couple I've been working with. They just got under contract last weekend or last Thursday in the middle of this continued really crazy real estate market. Um, just the backstory of them is I was sitting in open house for my listing in Lafayette Hill. And I think there were like 80 people through the door that day or something. And I had another agent there helping me. And it was just a mess.
Mm.
It was like I was managing, a big, like going out of business sale is what it felt like. But this one couple walked in and I always sign my clients in. And I got the name and I looked up at him and I'm like, are you such and such son? And he's like taken aback. And I'm like, I'm Nancy Center's sister. He grew up on the same street that my sisters raised her kids, right? So we put it all together. They were really whatever. So they waited a year. They went into a rental for a year. We stayed in communication, etc. They had their beautiful, literally adorable baby girl. And now they're ready to buy their home in Plymouth Whitemarsh. And we were looking and it's a rough market. And they have gotten luck. They were lucky enough and strong enough to put in a great offer on a house that is definitely going to need some love and some
Mm.
care and some updating. But they sort of followed a couple things that I guided them on. Number one, as a first time home buyer, don't think that you're going to be in this financial position. They're young. They're like late
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah.
Don't think you're going to be in this exact financial position forever. So I remember my dad telling me this way before I was a realtor, like for my first house, stretch a little. Like don't stretch that you literally can't go to dinner and you're literally just
Yeah.
eating
Yeah.
rice. But don't be too comfortable. There's somewhere in that range that you want to reach a little bit past your comfort level, because if you don't, as a buyer, to be honest with you, you're going to be looking for another house in 5 years, and that ends up costing you more money to move too quickly.
Yeah.
So think about over 5 years down the road. And so they really took that to heart. The other thing that they took to heart, which took a little bit more work, was Rome wasn't built in a day, and the house doesn't have to be perfect with all of your HGTV dreams on day one or day
Yeah.
365 days, right? Buy a house that has good bones. If your floors are clean, if you have to replace the flooring, paint the walls, whatever, but all the other stuff, let's deal with that later. We don't have to deal with all of it. You don't have to deal with all of it
Yeah.
now. It's a clean house. I always love finding my buyers. And for over the years, I've done it many, many, many times where I've said, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. Make sure it's clean and safe and move in and do it as time goes on.
Mm.
And this couple is going to be thrilled. They're in a great neighborhood, a great yard,
Aw.
brand new roof. So a lot of like the features that are not fun spending money on, like the HVAC unit and the roof, is already done for them. So it's just the finishes. So I'm really excited for them. They just got under contract, so knocking on all wood doors. But um, usually, the move-in day is just. This is one thing I'll just throw out there. You communicate so much with your client through the transaction period. The looking period and transaction period, let's say that's a 3-month plus or minus period of time. That when you go to settlement, one of the thoughts in my head is, oh my God, I'm going to lose these friends.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
know.
I could
And I
see
don't
that.
even know if the client thinks this, but it becomes so much a part of my life, communicating with them every
Yeah.
day and seeing their family and, knowing this and knowing that. And all of a sudden it goes like, and then they feel they don't want to bother me. And I'm like, no, keep bothering me. If you need a landscaper, call me. If you need a tree guy, call me. If you
Yeah.
need a
Yeah.
carpet guy,
I could
call
see
me.
that.
Because you develop a relationship.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting thing. Like, and I can't blame them for thinking they don't want to bother me because on the other, like, flip that around.
Yeah.
And from my angle, I don't want to just stop by and bother them,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though I really want to, but I won't do it just because it just doesn't seem right. I hope that answered your question.
It does. Yeah. And it shows exactly how much you care about your clients that you'll miss them.
I do. It's so weird. It's like, I
I
don't
would be
know.
the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. Like I'm sure you remember back in the day if you were training somebody and you worked with them for 6 months and for some reason they left they got in, whatever happened, you're like, oh, there goes my friend.
Yeah. Oh no, sad. Very
Yeah,
sad. When
kind of
people
sad.
move away from the gym,
Yeah.
or even it would be like, oh my God, no.
And then you feel like creepy, like reaching out and just like, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my little story. So before we wrap up, I want you to tell, now you have so much to report to the list. I got blank ink on my fingers. So much to report to the listeners, where they can find your book, your podcast, where they can find you. So go ahead, share your contact.
Number one, best place you can find everything is Sandy Joy Weston, WESTON.com. They can find everything there. You can buy all my books on Amazon. I'm on every social media platform again as Sandy Joy Weston, MED. As far as my podcasts, wherever you want to listen, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. So whatever platform you want, you'll find me.
Okay. All right. So, and I'm going to sort of repeat that. So if you want to find me, I am Sharon Loudenbach on all platforms. And this podcast is now available on all streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube if you want to watch on video. Life in the Philly Suburbs with Sharon. Thank you, Sandy Joy Weston. I look forward to seeing you. I think I'll see you this week somewhere along the networking pike. And
Somewhere?
I don't know, somewhere. Anyway,
Somewhere.
we'll see each other. But thank you to everybody for listening. Please share. Please follow my podcast so you can see the next person that I interview. And have a great day. See you next time, guys.
Toodles.
Doodles.